City.
Yes, please.
Take a look at your Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4 this time. Put that armor-clavered 14.6 inch aside. Now look at the phone. Flip it. And
I suspect that with all this, you want me to read the proverb, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, and you don't want me to let these two gadgets speak so that one can tell the other what to do.
They can do that if they want to.
All right, let me just read.
Okay.
An elephant does not die from one broken rib.
An elephant does not die from one broken rib.
Yes.
How many ribs does it take to kill an elephant? How many broken ribs does it take to kill an elephant?
Yes. I think, that particular question is profound. It's as profound as the question you asked. How much is enough?
How much is enough?
Yes.
To kill an elephant.
Yes. When is it really ever enough?
We have a guest in the studio. His name is Cliff Mobeck. He is the leader of the Diaspora Youth Caucus. He is back in the country and is with us in the Situation Room. Good morning.
Morning to you.
Welcome to the Situation Room, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana.
Shukuru sana.
Let's begin with this proverb. It's from Lesotho.
It's from where?
Lesotho.
Otherwise known as Lesotho. And yo.
It's Lesotho.
The pronunciation is Lesotho. Why I cannot tell you.
Yeah.
But it's in South Africa, right?
It is, yes. Actually,
It's inside.
No.
It's literally
You are right.
inside.
It's right in the middle of South Africa. It's surrounded by South Africa.
Where's the capital city of Lesotho?
Maseru.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Population is 12 million.
Is it?
Around 13. I'm joking. It's around 2.2 million.
But there are several elephants
Yes.
with broken ribs.
So, first of all, how many ribs does the elephant have?
Many.
So, for it to lose one, it won't kill it then.
No.
It's too big to have many ribs, right?
I agree with you completely.
It has many ribs.
Yes,
That's the point.
It has many ribs.
So just one being broken will not kill it.
Don't kill it.
No. I think to understand it, given that an elephant is a mammal, think about yourself as another mammal. If you break one rib, will it kill you?
No.
Not.
But you have
Adam lost
lifetime
one. It
injuries,
killed him.
though.
You'll have a lifetime injury.
Ooh, did you hear what he
No,
said?
I didn't hear what he said.
Please allow him to repeat
Eric,
what he
please
said.
repeat what you said. It sounds unsavory. Please say it.
Adam lost a rib.
And it killed him.
Oh, no. No, he died for an hour to make another human being out of it, right?
He was expelled from the Garden of Eden.
For losing the rib.
No, the rib created this person.
What the rib ended up doing?
ended up doing.
I just wonder, how could one rib make a whole human being?
Oh,
We need to ask
The wonder of God, man.
I think
Clay made a human being.
Wow.
Let's get into the conversation, Cliff.
Right.
Leader of Diaspora Youth Caucus. Where do you live?
I live in Wichita, Kansas, United States.
How long have you been there?
I think now 11 years, going to 12 years. But not in the United States or the Wichita, Kansas. Wichita, I think 1.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were leader of the Diaspora Youth Caucus, tell us about the caucus. Who are the members of the caucus? Where do they live? What do you do? What's the purpose of the caucus?
Actually, the Diaspora Youth Caucus is we came together as a group of leaders of groups from different groups, because it's actually global and virtual. We don't have physical offices, and we have leaders around the globe, but more especially they are youth, and we have parents who have youth as well.
Okay.
We co-founded it with a lady. Her name is known as Vicky Batty. She lives in Wisconsin. And we just broke out we didn't really break out, but we were in a larger group. There are very many groups in the United States when it comes to after the election of the new government. So people came up with a lot of groups trying to sensitize on how they can easily make themselves very wealthy as the diaspora, by and large. So we came together so that we can easily sensitize and just sell our own ideas as the youth, what we are able to do and offer back to our own country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had conversations with several people who are leaders of different groups in the
Right.
diaspora, some in the States, some in Europe, in the UK. The lady was from which country, Ndu? I don't remember, yes, but we've, some from the Middle East, in Asia. And so we know that there are very many organizations of Kenyans living in the diaspora who've come together and they have formed organizations and caucuses.
Right.
The question is, all of these groupings, are they saying the same thing? Do they speak to one another? Is it like the way we have very minimal parties in this country? You just have like 60 different political parties that sometimes just become active at some point during election, and then the rest of the time they're silent?
Let me put it this way. I think every group has their own end goal game. At the same time, they represent different ideas. Some are investment groups, some are political groups, some are, how can we say, like welfare groups. Yeah, they're multiple groups because they represent different ideas on how they want to approach it. But let me speak of what I know, because I don't want to speak for someone who's not here. The Diaspora Youth Caucus, we come together so that we can easily sell the idea on how best that we can help our country, because we really know where we came from. We know the gaps that we left back in the country. And we're trying to give them the best that we can, because we've already earned a lot of skills out there. Because just at times we feel like, it's so much at times to speak to our leaders to do something, but our voices don't go anywhere. They just dies along the way between the tunnels. They don't just make it to the end of the tunnel. So we just came together so that we can easily just sell out our ideas, give them the skills that we have already, because it's pretty much the youth. That's what we are doing. Yeah, it doesn't matter which political affiliations that you are in, tribe, where you come from, or anything, and which country that you reside in. But as long as you're in the caucus, you have the idea that we're putting forward. That's what we represent.
Okay. So are we looking at seeing the representation of young people in Kenya, or are we saying here that the representation of young people who reside in the diaspora then now should be elevated? What exactly are we advocating for here?
It's the representative of the young people who are living in the diaspora, but they believe in where they come from. And they have to bring what they've already acquired out there back to the country. That's the end game. Yeah. But now we don't have that space where to bring it back. That's why we're trying to find the channels where we can easily be accommodated, and more especially in the government, so that we can easily give back what we already have. Yes.
If you were to be accommodated in the government, how do you picture this? What would you need to see in order to make you feel that you've been accommodated in the government?
Well, that's a very good question. To me, accommodated in the government is, first of all, ask the youth. The ideas that we already have, they just die in thin air because they don't see the light of the day, because maybe you don't have resources, you don't know how to marshal up to get it up there. But the moment the government recognizes us, because these are the incentives that we really need, actually, like what we have exactly at the moment. How are we going to do it to make sure we up there at the government? First of all, let them invite at the table, because for the longest time, maybe probably we don't have that kind of a space on the table whereby they're discussing issues. Because we see us people out there in the diaspora, all that we do is just work and remit back to the country. But we're more than that. At the same time, we're trying as much as we can to show other people here back here in the country that they can make it out there and make their lives better. Because you see, it's a challenge. Like the other day, I was just coming out of Nyayo House. The swarm of the people who just trying to give you, they were trying to sell to you anything. It's just a challenge to the point where you are like, I wish it could be better than this, because all of them are the youth, most of them. Like, three quarters of the entire group that I saw out there at Nyayo House are the youth. They are joblessness, and we really have a million opportunities out there. If the government can easily involve us, the people who are living in the diaspora, especially the youth, we know how best that we can do it and how we can approach it. Because when they come in the diaspora, it's us already. Because most of the people come to the diaspora, actually, they just brought there, but the people who live in the diaspora, especially the youth, know the government. So, but
why I asked the question is because if you wish to be invited to any table, you must be clear what it is you want to discuss at that table. You must have a clear agenda. You must know what it is you want to put across, and then you also must have an idea of what you want it to look like. If it's something as strategic as I hear you say, it cannot be left for the government to decide what they think or where they think they can fit you. No. It's you to say, this is what we are able to do. This is how we would like to do it. Now, with that, then they have the task of trying to see where you would fit in. But in the absence of that, you will not be invited to the table, and the discussion will not take place.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, let me just give to you a very simple tip.
Yes.
Number one, the people who wants to go to the diaspora, for example, to study. Okay, all of us, the reason why we're being recognized is because we're in the diaspora and we're able to.
You send money back home.
Exactly.
And it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Yes.
Right.
In
But
fact,
now,
it's our biggest foreign exchange earner.
exactly.
Yes.
So here's the thing: how can we make it bigger than that?
And how can you make it be a vehicle for peddling the influence that you want?
Exactly.
Because it's a powerful tool.
It's a very powerful tool.
Yes.
That's correct. So let me just give you an example where the challenge comes out from, so that we can easily just figure out why we are coming in. Okay. You see the process even of taking someone to the United States, for example, or the UK, the Australia, or these other big five countries whereby we have big economies, right? And especially in Europe and all that. Let's say, for example, students. Because, when we're going out there to learn and just come with the new education, exotic education that we can easily just do back here at home, the process is very tedious indeed. If you ever try to take anyone to those countries, the process is very tedious. And then the effort is just taken down within 5 minutes of an interview. If you go to the United States Embassy today, out there, and just ask how many people come out there with the visas. Out of 20.
How many apply and how many are successful?
No, let's just go. How many come out with visas? Because whoever has applied has made it to the American embassy. And at the moment right now, for example, there's no appointments till 2025. That's the question, right?
Meaning, if you want to go to the US, and you've never been there, you need to wait.
You don't have a visa.
You don't have a visa.
Yes.
Your next appointment is likely to be in
2025. Yes.
Oh, I see.
It's so tedious, right? So I would imagine.
And it's not a guarantee that
No, it's not a guarantee.
once you go to the embassy, you'll come out with a visa.
Yeah, so if you go out there and you ask 50 people, out of 50 people, how many people got the visas? Probably 2 or none. And every day, and the embassy is open as from 6 probably, all day long. So, you see the process is very tedious. Parents out here are really trying.
Why is it so tedious? Do you have any idea?
I do know. I have an idea. Because the process, the reason as far is very tedious. Every country, they're really trying so hard to control the population in their own country. And again, for them to let people to come in their own countries is to have the genuine process to go out there. They don't want to let just anyone like that. But now we have a lot of unscrupulous agents out there, brokers. They just sell you anything. And and people are really trying as much as they can to go and study. A lot of people probably, they could be so genuine, but the process, the way it goes through, it breaks down everything. And and every day, these embassies, they're coming up with new technology on how to curb that.
Yeah.
If you came up with the wrong, something which was unscrupulous yesterday, tomorrow, they won't let that happen. And they make it more expensive because the person, they have to deploy a lot of technology. You can't blame them. So the only thing that I believe in is we are the government with these Western countries. They are trading partners and all that. I would imagine if we had a discussion and just see on how things can easily be done, and especially for students first of all, before we talk about anything else, so that we see which is the best process, at least for someone to go there to be guaranteed that they can get a visa to go and study. Because genuinely, there are people who wants to get there, but they don't get that opportunity because they are being swarmed by cartels and people who don't have an idea what they want to do. They just want to make money out of it. It's just a commercial business. Yes.
So if I hear you, Cliff, one of the things that you're saying is for us to increase diaspora remittances, one way of doing it is having more Kenyans in the diaspora.
That's one way.
That's one way.
That's one way.
So in terms of even looking at that, then is what can the government do so that it can facilitate for more Kenyans to go into the diaspora? And this would be in having bilateral conversations with the governments. For example, like the way Kenya has this plan with the UK, we are looking for X number of nurses, and then through a properly managed process, Kenya is able then to send qualified nurses to go and work and live in the UK.
Right.
Such kind of ways, instead of using these dubious agents who will con you and tell you that it can get you into the States and you just don't even get a visa.
Let me just tell you something. You and I, all of us know this very clear. These Western countries, they're very clear on their guidelines.
Yeah.
They're on the portals everywhere. You can just find and just do the process very clearly. But for some reason now, Kenyans, they have, out of ignorance, they get conned and things happen. And at the end of the day, they are still making life so difficult for even the people who genuinely want to go there, even work or do something else. So here's the thing. These countries normally offer job opportunities every now and then. Like Canada the other day, last year, I think 2022, they offered even 1,000 vacancies for truck drivers to go and work in that country. But guess what? We don't have the skill sets for those people to go and work out there.
Wait.
Skill set of driving a truck.
Yes, exactly.
There's something.
How much more different can it be?
Let me speak this. Let me say this as an instructor of truck drivers in the United States. I'm a federal certified instructor for truck drivers in the United States. It's not a 1+2 thing. You have to go through serious training, and you have to pay a lot of money for you to be a truck driver.
You know, my interest here is in the training you speak of. If I'm paying a lot of money,
Yes.
I assume the training is very vigorous.
Absolutely.
Beyond moving the truck backwards and forwards and sideways, what else do you need to know about this truck? What is it that makes it so onerous, and what makes it so? Because clearly it's a well-paying job.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what are these things that you must have? It's like there's an exam you must pass. There are skills you must acquire.
Yeah.
What are they?
What are they?
Safety. Safety is very important. Safety is the key thing. Safety. The only way that you can make money out of a truck is just by backing. If you don't back into a dock, you won't load, you won't offload, right? So those are
Backing is reverse.
Reversing, exactly.
Okay, very good.
Reversing it to load it.
Reversing into loading it and reversing into offloading.
Offload it.
So if you won't do that, you won't have money, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So the process is very tedious because, it's not very tedious. The training is very rigorous because they really take safety into considerations. And as a truck driver, you might end up yourself into prison if you do not follow those clear guidelines.
How many years must you have driven a truck before you can even qualify to actually get this certification? Because I also get the impression it's not just one certification. There are layers of certifications.
But again, it depends what kind of a truck that you're going to drive. We have small trucks, 18-wheeler trucks.
18-wheelers small.
No, 18-wheelers are just like
container trucks.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And we have different types of trucks. Heavy equipment haulers, hazmat trucks, and all that. So hazmat is hazardous materials.
Okay.
So tankers and all that.
Okay.
So each of them requires its own certification.
Of course, if you drive a dry-van truck, you cannot drive a hazmat truck. It's by the law.
Wow.
You can only drive one truck at any given time. So you say if you're certified to do this,
You can only
cannot
drive-
go moonlight and drive a hazmat, and then in the morning
There's
you're
no
driving.
shortcuts.
You can't do-
They don't have shortcuts.
So the certification that you then get is for you to drive one particular vehicle. So you cannot be a hazmat truck driver by day and a different one by night.
You don't even do that. You don't even have the time to do that. There are regulations on how you even should drive. You can only drive 70 hours a week, including when your duty hours. You just don't wake up and just say you can only drive only 11 hours a day. You can't go past that.
So if I'm a bus driver, for instance, I cannot drive a bus and at the same time drive a truck.
No, you can't. But let me tell you, this is what happens. There are stages and qualifications as to that, right? If you have a certificate for you to drive a bus, you can't drive a truck. But you can go on another certification for you to drive a bus and a truck added into that.
Okay.
But if the moment you're going to start driving a bus, you have to go back for
Training.
a refresher training for you to drive a bus. A bus is different. A school bus is another thing. It's very different training. If you're going to drive a driver, which is not hazmat, you cannot drive a truck, which is hazmat.
So the thing that is therefore needed is for, now we have a State Department for Diaspora Affairs.
Correct.
Is to look at, for example, Canada is looking for this kind of truck drivers.
Right.
Do we have this kind of qualification, or how can we upgrade our drivers so they
Exactly.
can qualify to go and seek for these jobs in Canada?
Right.
And that's where now the gaps are.
Those are the gaps.
This is where your caucus, for example, would come in how to advise the government. So these are the jobs. This is what you can do. You can get a certified instructor in Canada to help our Kenyans get certified.
It's very easy for you. When you have that, even applying for that job is very easy. But once you don't have that, at the same time, that's even giving Kenyans jobs over here.
Yeah.
By them providing for you those tools to train as per their requirements.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? The same thing applies to healthcare. I don't want to interfere to this again. Although it's just
No,
like
I'm like, because CT is looking at his driver's license at the moment, and he's trying to figure out what
Yours is BCE, and you've
BCE.
never driven a truck, but you have a
I've driven a
certification.
truck. I actually.
How
owned-
many years? How
I
many years
actually
ago?
owned one.
How many years ago?
I think the last time it was what? Many years, over 10 years.
And yet your license says you can still drive a truck today.
Yeah, but that's the license I got there.
You see, that's the thing now.
That's the thing now that Cliff is saying that you're not just going to be able to rock up just because you got it however many years ago.
they don't care about that.
and then be
City wants to
able
just
and so now what we are saying from this is essentially, if there were collaborations between the need and the government of the day here, and that's what the Diaspora Network, I'm assuming, then it wants to do, and say, look, guys,
That's correct.
there are opportunities for young people in Kenya who may not have a job today. But if they were to be able to be under this umbrella of a government advocated system, whereby this training then is harnessed, and people will then be able to find jobs and still then be able to remit back to the country because they're well-paying jobs. Is that what you're
Exactly.
saying?
Yeah, a truck driver can easily be paid as little as $100,000 a year. So that's like pretty much like 12 million Kenyan shillings, and then your life will be good. The same thing. It's not even difficult for me to even say that because it's very true. Anyone can just
It's as low as 12 million shillings a year.
Yes.
That's as low as a
And
million
that's
a month.
at the least.
yeah. If you want to make more, you can because the governments out there, they even give opportunities for people to start their own business, having their own trucks. Even acquiring a truck is very easy for you because there are those processes. But then again, we really have to. Those things to happen over here. We have a lot of challenges in terms of trucking. I've seen over here. I was like, oh my god. This is crazy. We need to redo a revamp
Of everything. Let's
the
take a
entire
break
thing.
on that note. It's 28 minutes to 8. Cliff Mobeck is the leader, Diaspora Youth Caucus. He lives in Kansas, USA. He's here in the country. He's talking about how we can leverage the diaspora and the opportunities by just changing our policies 1, 2, 3. Now that we have a State Department for Diaspora Affairs, how can that State Department actually work to getting more Kenyans in the diaspora? And those Kenyans in the diaspora who are seeking to remit money back into the country, how can that money then also be used better? Because, look, President William Ruto is looking for own source revenue, own source loans. Okay? Diaspora can actually be the ones that's lending the government money. That's one vehicle. Let's take that break.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
So you're saying that you people who are living in the diaspora, especially your caucus, you look at all the knowledge and skill that you have, and you'd like to contribute back to the country, and you'd like, for example, to help the country in enhancing diaspora remittances and the presence of Kenyans in the diaspora. So CT had asked you, so how do you engage with the government? How do you get at the table so you can discuss with the government? What's your route to government?
Okay, the route to the government now, the only way is by just giving them what we already have because they don't have that route. By speaking what we best we can.
You actually do. It's just that, you see, even when you talk about a caucus, that's an organized group of people. The moment you have an organized group of people, when you speak, it's one voice that represents that group of people. Now, that is how, for instance, if you look at our political structure, Parliament is structured. people gets together, they vote for one individual, and that individual goes and talks on their behalf. Same with the diaspora. Since all of you can't come and talk to the government,
That's right.
it's a question of determining, because people in the diaspora always visit the country.
All the time.
Yes, now it's a question of coordinating so that you know when you're visiting. What am I trying to tell you? All these things, this is the information age. And a lot of what was difficult, you see, the reason why people like traveling home a great deal was you need to see people. In this day and age, I don't need to travel to see you. I can actually see you without
That's right.
necessarily traveling to where you are. I don't have to physically move to talk to you. I can actually talk to you without necessarily moving physically. Now, take your thought to the process where you are talking about how do you engage. Government is this amorphous thing. Wherever you come from originally, before you went to the States, there are individuals there who represent the people there. That's already a voice. Because if you send money to your relatives also have relatives. You're already making an impact in wherever it is you came from. A voice already exists there. What am I trying to say? I don't have a perfect solution, but it's a question of moving away from the geographical difficulties that you see because you're far away to the realities of the age that we're in. And look at the power that the money that the diaspora sends already has. World Bank is constantly giving us all sorts of conditions, and IMF, for the monies they give us. Okay? The money that the diaspora sends to Kenya is our largest foreign exchange earner. Surely, if the World Bank can give conditions, so can you.
You know, I mean, at times it's just very funny because, you know, you say the diaspora only, all these people live out there, the money that they send is just equivalent even to what the entire 25 counties provide to the national government level.
Yep.
That's very true, right?
Yes.
Because, I mean, but we just have this amorphous kind of a thing whereby we have a county, which is 48 county, which is existing in the skies.
Yeah.
Without representation, without anything that we do, we don't have, we don't get involved in budget making or anything. All that we do is just give out. We don't get anything back.
Actually, you are involved in budget making. You just don't know it.
Yeah, we are, but not physically.
In the absence of that money that you send, the
They wouldn't
government
be able to do the budget.
No, they wouldn't be able to estimate, to figure out how it is they fall short of. So everything that happens in this country, you are involved. I mean,
Yeah, pretty much. I know.
you really are involved.
Right.
You may not realize it, but you are.
So what paints a very clear picture in my mind then is that there's, I mean, and it's been spoken about for years, those who are in the diaspora are contributing significantly to the economy of the country. And here you are on this side saying, we want to then be able to have a say. We want to then be able to give suggestions about the things that can be done. We're living on this side of the pond and we've seen how things operate. How about we lend a suggestion or two to the country? How about we collaborate? It seems to me then that what is needed on this other side, first of all, is a consolidation of effort.
Correct.
That all these different groups, whether you're in Australia or in the United States or in the United Kingdom or the Netherlands, all these other countries that we've had conversations with, if there was a coming together as one unified body and then speaking as one voice, the impact then that would be felt, in my mind, would be much greater than the rumblings that we've been hearing. Somebody who's in Washington, D.C., somebody else who's in Wichita, Kansas, somebody else who's in The Hague, in the Netherlands. People seem to be speaking in silos with their own groups, as opposed to one big
voice.
body, one voice that is saying, because everybody's saying the same thing.
But
Everybody's
is
saying
it
the same
possible
thing.
to speak
Is it
with one
possible
voice?
to do that?
Yeah, it's very possible because yeah, it is very possible. Do you know once you have one head which is leading towards one direction, you're gonna find that path very clear.
Yeah.
That's why we said the other day I was very challenging because I was expecting, at least from the diaspora. I mean, I don't want to call it a fail, but I think it was just far-fetched a little bit, whereby at least could have even gotten a PS or someone who is from the diaspora. Or maybe in the diaspora, whatever, they have the parliamentary committee in charge of the diaspora.
Yep.
At least we have one person, even from the Caucus,
Who lives in the diaspora?
who lives in the diaspora, who knows what exactly is happening on the ground. When you need those ideas to be sent through the parliamentary system, you have someone already who is sitting on that table and telling them, hey, I come from this place and place here and there, and we know a few things that we can easily just help you out. We have a lot that we can do. Instead of just having the same. Okay, I don't, because we know how it's a parliamentary process. You can't be in that committee if you're not a member of parliament.
Yeah.
Because we never had those elections, we never had that opportunity to elect our own leaders. But at least through the national
Why don't
assembly.
you elect your own leaders in the diaspora? You already lead a caucus.
Right.
You see, you're talking about something that already exists.
Correct.
And you seem to think it doesn't, and yet it does. By the time you have a State Department that deals with diaspora, do you know that is a serious movement?
I know it's a very serious movement.
It's recognition.
Yep.
So now the diaspora is entrenched in the system of government in this country. It's not just the diaspora in some vague terms.
Hey,
There
here
is a
we are.
department that actually deals with such matters.
That's
Number
correct.
one. Number two, everything you're saying, in my mind, hinges on how organized the diaspora wants to
Right.
be. It's as simple as that.
The diaspora is watching. Here's the challenge. How organized are we?
I think it would work both ways. So we have CS Alfred Mutua, we have the PS for Diaspora Affairs, and we've got Kenyan embassies and Kenyan consulates. So it's if the government has a structure that says, so this is in every region, this is how we have an office that deals with diaspora affairs, and we say that this one is coordinating all of you groups in this particular region. You have this one focal point. This is who you talk to. Then you have a place to channel your views. Because I think there's value in having a multiplicity of voices in the diaspora. A multiplicity of caucuses and groupings is good. But then if all of you know that this is where we take our information to, and then that is then brought back to Dr. Alfred Mutua, he takes it to cabinet, and they come up with policies, they take it to parliament, then there's a route. And that's what probably you need. So that you now know if we have these ideas as the Youth Caucus, we will either talk to Teddy Kwaka in LA, who's a consular there, and he will take those ideas and he'll open a channel for us. If it's about now dealing with maybe the National Employment Authority on how we can set up training facilities for Kenyans who are seeking to this kind of jobs in the USA, then your caucus works with the consular, works with the ministry, works with the government back home. So you have an easier way. It's then upon you now to look at how best do we structure because you're saying you are willing to contribute. And that's where the challenge comes to you.
Right.
And the question, as you say you're willing to contribute, how do you want to engage with the government? What's your route to government?
So, well, first of all, before even we get there to the contribution, let's discuss on what exactly happens to the point whereby we don't have that kind of unity altogether.
Yes.
I don't want to just censor the previous governments or the current governments on exactly what is happening. Once people get out there, their lives completely change in terms of even the way they approach and the way they look back at the country because of lifestyle and socio-economic activities that goes on out there. And the way they would want to trust back their own governments, depending on the fact that how they left this country could be a little bit challenging, as I gave you those challenges from the beginning. It brings a whole disconnect. Because by the time you're putting these people together and explain to them, like, hey, look here, we are starting up something. It's too much work.
It's contributing back
I'm
home,
telling you,
like,
yes.
Contributing what?
I'm going to give you an example, Latif. Even for us to put these caucus together, I'm telling you, it's not even incentivized, but it's brain draining and talking and explaining to people. Even to bring all these people that we have, about 500 people, all of them together from different countries, you can imagine how much time that you have to put together for you to put all these people together. Speaking to people from different time zones, people in Australia have a whole day ahead of you. People in Egypt have a whole another day ahead of you. You in America, you have to go to work, you got to do this and put all these people together. That's why we say, like, it's a day job for you to run a caucus. Like, it's really time consuming. At the same time, I just want to be very clear why this happens. The mistrust from the previous,
with government.
Okay. You see, I mean, people, right now we can see that light just coming out. Like, hey, at least we have a voice. I can come to SpiceFM and say, hey, this is what we are up to, and let's just see what we can easily just share out there, right? At the same time, I can talk like to Ted Kwaka every time because he's just come up with a way that people can easily congregate and come together through functions or that. But here's another thing. How to tap that, to explain to people, for them to understand that is a whole challenge. It needs a whole civic education. And you know, people maybe think all Kenyans live maybe in Washington. They don't. Or people they live in Minnesota, where the Kisses live, right? Or in LA. We have people
Or in Boston.
Or in Boston. Most Kenyans don't even live there, actually. People have retreated back to suburbs. Like, you may think people live in Chicago. They don't. They just go outside of Chicago. A lot of people. Even there's a very small town that I went in outside Chicago, like about 1 hour south to the headquarters of Illinois in Springfield. But before Springfield, what is that state? Bloomington. It's a whole community with thousands and thousands of Kenyans. I was like, I'm in some Kiambu. I'm like, it's very serious. So here's the thing.
They should name it Raka.
Correct. That's right. Yeah, here's the thing. So here's the thing, Latif. Yeah. You see, when people get there, they change their lives. Maybe you left here as a single person, right?
Yeah.
When you get there, you get married. You probably change your status. You add one person to, you add your wife, who's not even a Kenyan.
Yeah.
That person becomes associated with the Kenyans. You get children who are Americans, but they can only affiliate themselves with Kenyans. A challenge just came up the other day when we went to organize the Jamhuri Day in Wichita, Kansas. So we gave that opportunity to the youth to run that event. They did it wonderfully, but I could laugh at a lot of things because they didn't know so much about Kenya, but they want to be associated. Yeah. I can tell you, those people, they don't. That's a whole group. They do not do any investment in Kenya. That's lost. How do we connect to those people to even start investing in this country? Okay? So before even we take people from here, we already have a whole batch
that is not
engaged. That's why we say, like, how can we connect with those people? It's us, the people who are on the ground, and have ourselves,
you just told us the story of America. Because if there's one country that is populated predominantly by immigrants, it's America.
Correct.
The entire history of it. And think, I want you to look at the country of Israel as an example. All right? Small country. But look at how their diaspora has influence. Look at the Irish. They have a serious diaspora who live in America. They've become Americanized, as you say. But when issues affect their country, they quickly remember where it is they came from. Yeah. And I could go on. What am I trying to tell you? Influence doesn't have to necessarily be peddled or channeled through, say, our consular offices or even our embassies. If you're a citizen of the U.S., you have a congressman, you have a senator. Our ties to the U.S. are so close, this country,
right,
that you can actually influence the things you want through those legislative processes that you actually already have there.
That's true.
Because the policies that help run this country, some of them come from the place you've come from.
Exactly.
Now, if you're there, it's something you can influence. This is why I was saying the structure already exists. It's a question of expanding your mind to see exactly how best you can actually fit yourself into it so that the goals you have are achieved. As for the Jamhuri Day, excellent.
Yeah, it was very successful, actually. I was surprised, Eric. Yeah, Eric, I was very surprised. Like, these are kids who hardly even speak Swahili. They trained Swahili overnight just to...
And they did...
they did an excellent job. I can tell you that. Even the organization, the monologues and everything, all coming up, they had this very organized event. This is why I always say, it's us who can do it. We cannot do it from far away. It's just like having...
Allow me to repeat that, what I've just said. You can do it from far away.
Does it?
You can.
Yeah. It's just like having gold mines in Congo and having offices with the AC in London or in how do you call it? In Paris and all that.
Bro, for the longest time, the biggest tea market was in London. If you find one tea leaf being grown somewhere, one tea bush, you'll be fortunate.
Yep.
The chocolate making world in this country do not have cocoa.
That's Swiss, right?
Yes. There are things in this day and age that are possible irrespective of how far you live?
I want to throw this challenge. Let me ask you a very simple question. For Kenyans, we are very serious business people in terms of in real estate and all that. You see the interest rate for, like in Kenya here, the other day, I mean, like it's something that it's in the public domain. We only have less than 25,000 out of 50 million people in mortgage loans.
Yep.
That's very true, right?
Yep.
Yes.
The interest rate for mortgage loans is 12.9 and something percent.
Yep.
As opposed to Texas, it could be like 4.1. Just
Yeah.
ask me one thing. Any serious person today, you want to invest in your own country, maybe in terms of mortgage, because we want to be like in a place whereby we want to involve everyone. All that we are left with is just to buy a piece of land and somewhere in the village, build your own house that you don't even live, because your life, you live in the United States or in UK, 98% of your entire life.
Yeah.
So you only have a house is being lived by rats and cockroaches out there back in the village, which has got no value, nothing. At the same time, there's a time I flew to LA and then I took an Uber to the place that I was going to. So fortunately, it was a Kenyan who was driving this Uber. He was only 23 years old. I mean, I felt so sad.
Why?
And then this is the thing. This Kenyan told me, he showed me how much he has built a house in a village worth $170,000. That's almost like 20 million, right?
Yep.
I asked him, how old are you again?
23.
23. So I'm in terms of you going to Kenya. He said, like, I go there like in 2 years ago, like once. I was like, I asked him, so where did you build the house? In a village. So what's the purpose of building the house? That's 20 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a better way that our government just come up with things that we can invest this money even in tax bonds? Like, instead of having our people buy pieces of land, at the end of the day, they perish in some funny places with no recreational facilities, no water catchment areas. They don't even factor very important things that we should be looking at. Like, why do we want to create our country with stone ravaging houses of ghettos? Because you see, at the end of the day, let me ask you, Latif, today. If you go to Kitengela, where everyone else just thought it could be a nice city, right? The next coming 20 years will be a ghetto. It will be even more than a Kibera, but it would be blocks of ghettos and bricks and all that, because you don't even have a clear passage of the roads. People who are in the diaspora, for example.
So it would have been better if this 23-year-old had put into this 20 million shillings into some other investment that's growing.
Correct. If we had that option, 23, that's a lot of
So
money.
it's the options that you need now, the government, to set up those options and those
Exactly.
make them available.
Which are easier. Because you see, like, I don't want to take your time. I mean, like, it's easier. Someone to take a lot of time and incentives to lie to the people in the diaspora by just buying pieces of land. At the end of the day,
Yep.
they don't even end up anywhere.
Yep.
What's the purpose? Buy land, 1 million. Okay? Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that. You're 23 years old. When is your money gonna roll? Because, I mean, it's just so funny. The fact that,
More
5
than
years.
8 somewhere in Malindi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you buy land somewhere in, I don't know where, Lamu or
50 by
Malindi,
100.
50 by 100. It's being advertised like, hey, these flamboyant people trying to do all this manner of advertisement using a lot of resources. Buy land for 50,000 Kenyan shillings and just realize the profit after 5 years. I'm like, no, I can't do that. If you're a serious person, honestly, we should even our government should even put money to national housing corporations whereby everyone, it's a channel thing, so that we can stop these houses falling into people. But
Yes.
can you just see, okay, if you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. What's the purpose of just you having a piece of land, start constructing, live in it as you finish it? That's a safety hazard. The house will fall, cave in you while you're in there. Someone is knocking walls here with heavy hammers. You're living next to this person. It shouldn't be happening like that.
Yeah.
If we do these things, give our government a ways, because people have gone out there and studied the best ways of working, and give out this best knowledge on how you can do construction.
engage.
Yes, how to engage.
I guess the challenge for both you as the leader of a caucus in America, speaking for diaspora, not just in America, but across the
the
globe,
diaspora.
and the government is to have a meeting.
A serious meeting, right?
Yes, is to have these conferences and regular meetings where all these ideas are just floated, and then the government comes back and says this is the best way that we can tap. For example, in the affordable housing scheme, government is looking for money. Ruto has land, is looking for money to build houses. There's the money, billions of shillings sitting with Kenyans abroad, and they're just looking for where to invest.
it.
Cliff, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure having
All the
Kenyans
time.
joining us. Cliff Mobeck is the leader of Diaspora Youth Caucus. He's been here with us. He's been talking about what is the best, what are the opportunities, and what can the government do to increase diaspora remittances and engagement with the diaspora.